everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Wisconsin Weather Experts, exclusively here on Fox Local, as well as our Fox 6 YouTube page. Hope you all are having a great day so far. I know it's kind of the calm before the storm. Later on, we're going to talk a lot more about our chance for severe weather across the state of Wisconsin, you know, the heavy rainfall. But there's a lot going on across the country right now that's, of course, weather related, between the wildfire smoke. And take a look at this video. You know, from smoke to dust. This is something we've referenced a couple of times, especially when it comes to the tropics. But a large wave of Saharan dust is making its way across the Atlantic basin. It's forecast to arrive in the United States later this week, likely in the next couple of days, impacting the southeast with hazy skies and potentially dirty rain. So that would more so be the smoke, you know, kind of getting into those little raindrops. So when the rain ends, you see, you know, some of that dust on your car. It's happened here when we've had some wildfire smoke as well. But NOAA estimates that more than 180 million tons of dust leave the African continent every single year. And the extremely dry air reduces thunderstorm activity and tropical cyclone development. By Thursday, the thick plume of smoke is forecast to enter the Gulf and cover much of the Sunshine State, as well as the rest of the Gulf Coast states. But it is really interesting because, as Holly's going to reference here in just a second, there is a portion of the tropics with the rain pushing through Florida right now that could become tropical, but we'll also have some of that dust moving in. So it'll be interesting to see what plays out. I know. And with dirty rain, too, you normally see it once it dries up and it's just like a little ball of like dust or something just right there, you know? Right on your car. It just looks, it looks so weird. Yeah, it does. And speaking of which, there's even more going on, especially down south in Miami. Florida's dealing with some heavy rain as well as flooding in their area because of that low pressure system that's there. And that's all fueled by tropical moisture in the Gulf and the Caribbean. And that develops over South Florida. This system could pretty much, as a picture we're going to show here, this system could even take on some tropical characteristics by the end of the week, prompting the National Hurricane Center to highlight this area of interest off the southeast U.S. coast. So you see that area there where it's highlighted in yellow. There's a 10% chance that that area there could even be tropical by the end of the week, which is crazy. But we are in officially in hurricane season. So and it's low. I mean, only a 10% chance, but it is still worth noting. And this would be, you know, if it were to take on those characteristics, be the first tropical system of the Atlantic hurricane season. Oh boy. And I mean, I've already dived and looked into all the different reports of what they're thinking this hurricane season is going to be. And if we're already looking at some areas of interest, then I'm only going to get a little more nervous as we get closer to the peak of hurricane season. Yeah, I believe on average for the Atlantic hurricane season, it's usually about mid to late June that we see our first storm. So it's not necessarily when, you know, the season starts, but it just goes to show we've hit June and the tropics are going to start firing here before we know it. Back closer to home, though, we have a chance for thunderstorms throughout the afternoon and the evening, and even the possibility for some severe weather, especially south of us. Meteorologist Tom Walks goes through the ingredients that we have with our current setup today.
Well, on this warm Tuesday, there's yet another threat for showers and thunderstorms. Many ingredients here coming together for the potential for thunderstorms later today and tonight. And here is one of those ingredients. As we peel back the layers a little bit, this is what we call CAPE, or convective available potential energy. Essentially, it's the energy that thunderstorms have to feed off of. And the warmer it gets, well, that's one of these key ingredients here when it comes to increasing the thunderstorm energy, or convective available potential energy. So here are the more specific ingredients here. We've got the heat, we've got the humidity levels going up today, and then you need a lifting mechanism. What does that mean? Well, in order to get showers and thunderstorms, and in order to get clouds even, air has to rise. So when we have sinking air in the atmosphere, that clears the skies out. When air rises, think about this for a minute, you have an air parcel, right, that goes up. What happens when you go up? It gets colder, right? So eventually that air parcel is going to cool to the dew point, which is one of the reasons why we talk so much about dew point. Well, when the air temperature and the dew point are equal, a cloud forms, right? So you need to have lift in the atmosphere to get clouds, and if those clouds get big enough, you get showers and thunderstorms. So the lifting, in this case, coming from a cold front, also an upper level area of low pressure coming in from the west, and from the southwest, believe it or not, a former tropical storm Elvin, that was in the Pacific late last week. We'll talk more about that tomorrow. Now, clouds and smoke could limit the instability a little bit. I showed you that CAPE, right? The convective available potential energy. The clouds and the smoke might limit that energy a little bit. So that's one of the ingredients that could actually help to lower the fuel for those thunderstorms. So that's what we're watching for there. Let's talk about the main threat. So the timing looks to be late this afternoon and especially this evening for stronger thunderstorms. Heavy rain. That far and away is the greatest threat. Over an inch of rain is likely out of this system through midday on Wednesday. So the main threat here in order is heavy rain. Then we have gusty winds followed by a chance for some hail. Last on the list or lowest would be tornadoes. Now, is it high? No, the risk for tornadoes is really quite low, but it's never zero in this case. So again, heavy rain really being the main threat, but it all comes down to ingredients. And of course, it all starts with what's already building, right? With the heat and humidity.
So that's all in the forecast for later on today. So, we've got the ingredients for it. We do have that marginal risk here locally, and we already have some thunderstorms firing as well. So this is what we're going to be watching in the next couple of hours. Let's dive into our regional forecast, and we are going to start close to home. This is just out west in Dodgeville, where you can see the rain is now falling. So this system's going to continue to make its way off towards the east. It's actually really incredible because as I look out our weather deck right now, it's still sunny here in Brown Deer. So probably still a bit dry here locally, though our dew points have risen quite a bit since earlier this morning. But here's our storm system that we're watching. A couple of lows, a couple of cold fronts, all of this going to continue to move in our direction. Could bring us some stronger to severe thunderstorms this afternoon and evening. Also going to bring us that chance for some heavy rainfall. And it's not just here locally. The threat for severe weather is actually #1 greater down towards the south, but also extends all the way down into Texas. So this is a pretty overall, narrow but large area under this severe threat for today. Once again, zooming back in on our home, Wisconsin, you can see central, eastern, southern Wisconsin all under that level 1 marginal risk, which does technically mean a few or an isolated strong to severe storm will be a possibility. Flooding is going to be a big possibility as well as this storm system rolls through, especially down towards the south where the thunderstorms will likely be a little bit stronger. But to put it into perspective for you, you can already see a handful of communities under flood watches. There are already a couple of flood warnings, including flash flood warnings across eastern Kansas. It's entirely possible that some parts of even southeast Wisconsin see over an inch of rain as these thunderstorms roll on through and as these rain showers continue through the night tonight. But this is all the activity that we're watching. It is all out west right now, but we are especially watching here what's in southwestern Wisconsin and down into northwest Illinois. So this is weakened, certainly, since, I was watching it even just an hour ago out in Iowa. There was a lot more lightning associated with it. You can see it moving right through Dodgeville. Nothing strong, nothing severe, but this will continue to track off towards the east, northeast. So I think closer to maybe 2-3 p.m. in southeast Wisconsin for us to see some of that. Milwaukee will likely be, closer to that 3-4 o'clock hour. We know we always are the last ones to see it. Going through the rest of today, though, you can see how some of these scattered thunderstorms start to work their way eastward. And some that we see even in the afternoon could be on the stronger side. And then you can see another wave after about 6 or 7 o'clock, could also see a strong thunderstorm out of that. But past, I'd say about 9 or 10 o'clock tonight, then it becomes primarily just a heavy rainfall or a steady rainfall through the night and on into Wednesday morning. But by late morning, midday Wednesday, we'll dry out, clouds will decrease, and we should even see some sunshine to end the day. So generally speaking, it's not going to last terribly long, but if you have any outdoor plans today, make sure you are checking the radar. Don't just check your app for the time that your app is telling you it's going to rain. Make sure you are watching the radar to see where those storms are at, which way they're moving. All you got to do is press play on that radar, and it'll tell you everything you need to know. We could still see it once again, some spots over an inch of rainfall, so this is going to be a decent rainmaker for southeast Wisconsin. Could see ponding on roadways and just a lot of puddles as we're getting going tomorrow morning. In the meantime, Wildfire smoke is still with us. It is still very hazy. In fact, air quality is a little lower than what it was yesterday. Much of the state is under that moderate category, but look at out west. That's where northwestern Wisconsin and parts of Minnesota and northern Iowa are under the unhealthy category for everyone. So unfortunately, very low air quality out towards the northwest. We all are under an air quality alert until early tomorrow morning. Same with Minnesota and parts of Iowa. In fact, as we start to see the rain pushing through this afternoon, it may actually pull more of that wildfire smoke down to the surface, kind of like what we saw on Friday here in southern Wisconsin. So don't be surprised if, as some of these showers and storms roll through later on today, you start to smell some of that smoke. It's just your indicator that it is making it down to where we live here at the surface. Now today is also going to be that warmer day. Temperatures well into the 80s, but because a cold front is bringing the rain and the thunderstorm activity, we are going to drop a little bit. You can see all the heat out east down towards the south, but behind that frontal boundary, it's cooler, though still pleasant. I mean, the Dakotas are still in the 60s and the 70s right now. So after today's above average warmth, we are more so back to reality temperature-wise through the rest of the week and on into the weekend. These are inland temperatures, so you can tell Friday is going to be our coolest day and likely low 60s lakeside. That's because another round of rain is on the way. But as we look towards the weekend, we do look to climb again. But in fact, potentially around 80 heading on into Sunday. So cooling a little bit. We've got the rain later today, and we're likely still going to be dealing with some of that wildfire smoke on and off in the coming days. That's the latest look at our weather across the region. We're going to take a live look outside right now in Milwaukee, and coming up, meteorologist Tom Walks. We get to hear from him again. He's going to talk about beach hazards. Stick around.
Welcome back, everybody, here to Wisconsin Weather Experts. As we just talked about, a lot going on today as far as in the weather department with storms pretty much breezing through the entire state today. And another thing that we're going to focus on today is beach hazards. Although there is a chance for storms today, beaches may be packed beforehand, and that's thanks to all the warmer temperatures that we have in our area. Chief Meteorologist Tom Walks has details on why you should not be in the water today.
Well, Lake Michigan water temperatures are still very much on the cold side, but with the land heating up into the 80s, that could mean crowded beaches across parts of the area. And you've got to mention here, you need to stay out of Lake Michigan from a swimming standpoint today. And here's why. Life-threatening waves and rip currents on the lake. And sometimes these can obviously be hard to see, right? Because they're currents that are under the surface, so you don't see it until you're actually in it. So please stay out of the lake today if you're going to be enjoying the beaches. Be very mindful of that. I know it's cold in the water, but you know, we're a hardy bunch here in Wisconsin, right? So cold water often doesn't stop people from going in, especially on a hot day. In fact, take a look here at this afternoon in terms of the wind direction. So a southerly wind direction expected across the area, even southwest for a time on land. Note Port Washington here, a little bit more of a southeasterly wind. Well, out over the lake, the wind is going to be more out of the southeast. On land, it's going to be more out of the south to southwest. So you have that convergence of the winds, number one, and that can lead to the higher waves and, of course, those rip currents as well. Oftentimes, if we had a strong southwesterly wind blowing all the way across the lake, well, we wouldn't have to worry about big waves, right? It would kind of blow it in the other direction. But not the case this go around because of the winds out over the lake coming in out of the southeast. So again, the land really warming up. Water, of course, takes quite a bit more time. That's why we don't see our warmer water temperatures really until we get into July, August, and into September. But again, as that land warms up, well, folks may want to go into the water. Stay out of Lake Michigan for swimming today because of those high waves and strong rip currents.
Fantastic advice, and I love that we had the explainer from Tom. We were even just chatting about it too, with the fact that yes, we have a southwest wind over land, but we can have a different wind direction out over Lake Michigan. Remember, Lake Michigan kind of generates its own weather sometimes, and there are also some spots too, and Tom mentioned Wind Point, Port Washington, that jut out over the water just a little bit more. So even a south wind would kind of be a lake breeze for those spots. So, and you guys know if you live in in these spots. You totally understand the lake, but it's just good to keep in mind because with it being warm, I know the first thing, especially kiddos are going to want to do, swim. But
get out in the water,
swimming in Lake Michigan is its own beast, to say the very least. So heed those warnings today. Also, some really good advice that I don't think we hear of too often, and it has to do with the color of your swimsuit. As kids dive into summer, we all know safety is top of mind. Fox 11's Audrey Lee explains why the color of your swimsuit could be critical in an emergency situation.
It's the time of the year when families plan trips to the pool or lake. But before you pack the swimsuits, do you know if they're the right color? Some colors actually vanish underwater.
So water distortion, especially in natural bodies of water and murky water, makes it really hard for people to see either under the water or even to the bottom of the lake, pond, or river. The color of the swimsuit can help break up that distortion a little bit.
In clear pool water, reds, whites, dark greens, and blues can be difficult to see, even just from a few feet away. Neon pink and bright orange, much easier to spot.
The brighter the better, so bright pink, bright orange, bright yellow, those are all really good options. There's no color that's ever going to be too bright for a pool or a natural body of water.
Not all water is the same. In lake water, neon pink will disappear. Neon yellow, green, and orange are the best swimsuit colors for a day at the lake.
Once you are in a natural body of water, the deeper it gets, the less visibility, the more light you're going to need to bring down with you.
In the past 5 years, 52 children drowned in the state. If you or nearby lifeguards can't see your children underwater, it can delay rescue in emergency situations. Along with knowing the right swimsuit color for your children, experts recommend swimming lessons in close supervision.
When I'm talking about supervision, it doesn't mean being on a phone, being on land or on the deck, really being in the water, actively engaged with your kids.
A splash of color may be the best safety decision you can make all season. Meteorologist Audrey Lee, Fox 11 News.
Fantastic information, right?
Yeah, because I know, you know, you don't always think about the color of swimsuit when you're buying it and what you should be wearing, you know?
Right.
So I even learned something from that as well. And the lake and then a regular pool, they're just complete opposite.
Yeah, it is. It's fascinating. And just, you know, information to keep in the back of your mind, parents, as you're buying swimsuits. 'Tis the season for your kiddos, but also for us adults, especially for swimming in the lake, because we just talked about it's not always the easiest thing to do.
Right. And another thing, while we're on this topic, we're going to talk about sunscreen here. So with the weather turning nicer, it is important to remember sun protection as we spend time outside. Now, there is a growing trend of people eating, I know, that sunscreen protection or that sun protection.
And it's maybe not what you think, but the idea is that nutrition can play a role in skin protection. Antioxidant-rich foods such as berries, leafy greens, and dark chocolates, or dietary supplements containing vitamin E or C can help with sun health. That is true. There are also new edible sunscreens with those ingredients, but experts caution that those are not the main way to avoid harmful UV rays. So you should not just be solely relying on supplements or the berries that you're eating to protect your skin. There's no scientific evidence of real UV protection from relying solely on your diet or those supplements.
They help supplement your topical sunscreens, but they're never going to be a replacement for them. So you also want to make sure that if you're using them, you want to use them in conjunction with or in addition to your regular sunscreen.
We all know how these trends go. They hit TikTok and everybody's doing it.
Right.
So just keep in mind, sunscreen is still so very, very important. Experts recommend applying it 15 to 20 minutes before heading outside and reapplying every 2 to 3 hours.
Wow. You know, at first when I heard this story, I'm like, they're making sunscreen that we can eat. You know what I'm saying? Like something on your face. It would make sense, but it's just eating the right foods to also help, you know?
Right, but they're supplements for a reason.
Yes.
They supplement your sunscreen and your diet.
Right.
So do it all and you will be protected. Let's take a live look outside right now. We are still expecting some of those storms to arrive later this afternoon, but right now it's pretty sunny. Coming back, we are going to talk a little bit about AI, speaking of trends, and also about Canadian wildlife. Stick around. Hi there. there, everybody. Thanks for staying with us here on Fox Local. We have talked about it all today, between Saharan dust and thunderstorms and beach safety. I'm still thinking about the swimsuit stuff too.
Right.
Now we're going to transition to what feels so futuristic, but I mean, we're talking AI. We're using it more and more every single day. Microsoft says its latest AI model, called Aurora, is accurately predicting not just the temperature and the wind chill factor, but weather events as complicated as hurricanes and typhoons. They even claim the forecast outdid the National Hurricane Center's 5-day cyclone tracking, but keep in mind, forecasters stress this is not a competition. We are all in the same game here.
There's a lot of excitement out there about the potential for AI to support our forecasters and to support the delivery of not only the forecast information, but what that means to the consumers.
So this new AI comes as the start of hurricane season begins, as we've talked about a few times. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration predicts higher than normal hurricane activity this year in the Atlantic. So I think what we've all kind of been stressing as all of this new AI stuff comes to light and we're using it more and more, it's just an additional tool. It really can be very, very beneficial. It's still very new. There are likely still going to be a lot of kinks that need to be worked out, and it's not necessarily energy efficient either, for those who know the backstory behind AI. But again, any new tool for forecasting, especially huge weather events, will be beneficial.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely feel like it's going to be helpful in ways where you don't always, sometimes you won't be able to look at everything at once, and AI may have everything all in the same place, because we look at a million different things, different layers of the atmosphere and all of that. So I think AI will actually help us in the long run.
Yeah, I do agree with that as well. Maybe you have a question about AI or wildfire smoke or hurricanes, anything in general. There's a QR code right up there on the screen. Feel free to scan that with your phone. It'll bring you to a page to fill out your question, and it'll be sent to us, and we'd love to dedicate some time to answer those.
All right, guys, so here we are. Let's talk more about those Canadian wildlife signs this time.
This is cool.
Yeah, so the British Columbian government is looking for a way to help reduce wildlife-caused crashes and increase safety on highways. They are testing 2 new high-tech wildlife detection systems on near Elko and Sparwood to help warn motorists when wildlife such as elk or deer are near or on the highway. When a large animal approaches, the sensors, which include radar and thermal cameras, will be triggering, causing the warning sign to flash, alert drivers to drive slow or to slow down. If successful, more may be installed wildlife hotspots.
Great concept. We'll be looking for that one here in the U.S. Live Look Outside, thanks for joining us today. We'll see you tomorrow at noon.